Hello, this is the Monitoring and Evaluation Manager for Mercy Corps, Democratic Republic of Congo. I'm going to conduct a short 10-minute video to show you how to use the Gender Status Index tool. Now, this tool does not require a significant amount of knowledge in relation to Microsoft Excel, but nonetheless a certain minimum level would probably be required in order to effectively handle this tool. But nonetheless, I'll try my very best to show you in a simple way possible how to manage the tool. So first of all, just start off in a very superficial level, looking at the color coding system. So as you, I'm sure, are already aware, the Gender Status Index has a color coding system for each indicator, by which green indicates that the score for a certain category of individual, so let's say 9 to 13-year-old girls, is satisfactory. So in this case here we have the percentage of girls and boys reporting that wash responsibilities don't interfere with schooling. We have 79% of 9 to 13-year-old girls saying that that is the case. So we don't consider that an indicator of significant concern for that target group. Yellow means that we do have certain concerns for the relevant indicator and target group, and we're something that we need to look at working on. So for instance, let's pick an example here. The percentage of women, men, boys and girls and people with disabilities who report no water related conflict in the household. Here only 74% of women said that, which to us suggests that there is room for improvement. Therefore the cell is coloured yellow. For red, it's relatively self-explanatory. Red is an area of significant concern. So in the case of the very first indicator, taking less than 30 minutes round trip to collect water, here in Bukavu, which is the subject of this particular tool, the city of Bukavu, only 12% of women said that they collect water in less than 30 minutes. So that, of course, is an area of serious concern for the program that this tool is designed to support. Then we have the box which reads non-applicable. Non-applicable basically either means that we have not yet collected data for that indicator, or the data is not relevant for that category of individual. So for instance, in the case of here, we're at cell D5, the percentage of girls and boys reporting that wash responsibilities don't interfere with schooling. Well, of course, we're looking there at the percentage of girls and boys. We're not so concerned by women or men, so therefore we've scored that out as non-applicable. Then, if we move over to the second part of the GSI here, midterm 2017, the greyed out cells. The grey cells are there to indicate that we've seen a regression since the baseline. So for instance here, in cell M9, percentage of men who report satisfaction with qualities of services or water sanitation. If we see a regression, which we do from 31% here to 30% here, the cell will be greyed out. Now just to note that the 2017 and 2020 information is just indicative, it's just to show how the tool would work. Anyway, so that's how the color coding system works. Obviously that's not something that you do manually, so each of the cells has an embedded conditional formatting which will change the color of the cell according to the value that you place in it. Just for an example here at D4, if we change 12% to 90%, the cell should turn green. If we put it to 60%, the cell should turn yellow, etc. So before I get into details of conditional formatting, I'll just explain to you the fact that all of the thresholds, so red being bad, yellow being room for improvement, and green being good, are on the second tab of the Gender Status Index, which is here. So basically here, if you update the thresholds, so here we have for indicator 1 taking less than 30 minutes round trip to collect water. If you change the thresholds, the color coding in the main GSI tool will also change. I'll show you how that works in a second. But just back to the main document again. So that's basically at a superficial level how the color coding system works. I'd like to also show you how some of the indicators that have sub-indicators are calculated. So in order to access the sub-indicators, you just click up here in the top left corner on 2, and that opens up the sub-indicators for the gender status index. So for instance here, indicator 2 has three sub-indicators, of which water collection doesn't prevent schooling for boys and girls, wash responsibilities around sanitation do not interfere with the schooling, and percentage of boys and girls who report that wash responsibilities around hygiene don't interfere with schooling. So here basically we have one indicator which is the average of the three sub-indicators basically. So here you have the formula, the embedded formula. At the moment we don't have indicators for 2.2, 2.3, but as and when we have them, we will input them here, and we'll be able to calculate an average for those three sub-indicators. There are more examples of some indicators down here at the bottom, as well as here at 11, 11.1, 11.2, 11.3. Okay, so to close, get rid of the sub-indicators, again just click on 1. Then for the category score, it is the average of the overall indicators, and the same principle applies for the category scores that have been predetermined. The thresholds have been predetermined, so if the score is poor, the cell will turn red. If it's room for improvement, the score it will turn yellow, and if it's good, the color will turn green. So now we'll move on to the more tricky part, which is the conditional formatting that is behind the color coding system for the gender status index. So if we want to just start with cell D4, which is a good starting point. So basically each of these individual cells have a certain number of rules associated with them, and depending on what is inputted into the cell, the color of the cell will change. Now in order to create rules or adapt rules, you need to go to conditional formatting and go to manage rules, and that will show you what rules currently exist for that particular cell. So here we have 4 rules embedded in this cell. The first rule is the rule that relates to the category of non-applicable. So if we wanted to check how the rule works, we double click here. We find that this cell will become grayed out, or will have the diagonal lines. In order to change the format, you just click here on format, and you can pick whatever. So here we have strike through is our format. Cancel. Okay, so format cells only with specific text. So here you can choose what you want to have, but here we've chosen specific text containing the data that's concerned in cell B131 of the indicator thresholds tab, which is the NA. So basically what happens is, just to go back here, is that if I was to put NA in this cell, it will become grayed out, because the conditional formatting links the content of this cell to the relevant cell in the indicator thresholds tab here at the bottom, NA. So that's the first rule, and if NA is written in that box, we consider that the rule, there will be no more processing of rules, so it will stop there. And let's change it back to 12% again. The second rule is for the color green for the cell. So format cells that contain cell value greater than indicator thresholds B5, which is this cell here. So any value that's greater than 80%, the cell will be green in this particular case. For yellow, we're looking at a cell value between indicator thresholds B4 and indicator thresholds B5, so between 60 and 80% for yellow. And finally for red, we're looking at a cell value that is less than indicator thresholds B4. Okay. So basically, how this works is that once you have written the rules in this individual cell here, in order to ensure that they apply across the rest of the gender status index, you have to apply the format painter system, which is basically you do that by clicking here and you click again on the next cell, on the next cell, on the next cell, on the next cell. Nope, mistake. But nonetheless, this is all pre-embedded for you. And the key thing to bear in mind with conditional formatting is just to pay attention to your use of the dollar symbols, which basically block the formula according to your needs. So just make sure that with your when you start the conditional formatting for each row, that if you want when you do the format painter to go across the row, you need to make sure that you don't, in this case, apply the $sign to the indicator threshold B5, because if you were to do that, when you did the format painter across, so I'm not going to do this, but just format painter here, 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 the formula that would go across would copy the data from B5. It wouldn't go to BC, C5, D5, E5, F5, G5, H5. But for this kind of thing, your best bet, if you're not an Excel expert, would be to discuss with a colleague who can just give you some basic guidance on how that works. Unfortunately, also with this system, you need to do the format painter one by one, row by row. So the best thing to do is to create the rules in the first row for each section, and then do the format painter across one by one. At least that's the way I've managed to do it so far. Perhaps there's a better modality, but until now that's the approach that I have used. In addition, another problem with conditional formatting is that if you insert rows into your sheet, or you start moving cells around, you're going to find that the conditional formatting that was there before is going to be messed up. So let's look here. See so therefore the rule now no longer applies to D16, it applies to D16 just to J16, which is not what we want. It should only apply to the rule should only apply to one particular cell. So the best way to avoid that is to protect the sheet. If you're the manager of this tool, you should protect the sheet and do not let anybody insert rows, columns, or cells. They can look at the tool. They can input numbers, but they're not able to play with the structure, and that's kind of essential if you want to be able to maintain the integrity of the document itself. So yeah, that's kind of it on how the tool itself works. As I said before, you don't require a significant level of Excel skills to manage this. You just probably, if there are any issues based upon what I've shown you so far, I'd say that the main one will be around the making sure that your formulas that you put in for the first cell and for each row of conditional formatting are correct. So when you format and paint across, you're going to get the result that you want at the end of the day. Yeah, another just final point, which I think I may have already mentioned, but just in case not, for indicator thresholds, yeah, this is where you basically do all the work that you want to do. So you can you input basically the thresholds here, and they should, if you've done your formulas correctly, that will be the thresholds that you have here will be automatically reflected in the main GenderStudies Index document itself. So yeah, that's the end of this quick review of the Mercy Corps GenderStudies Index. I hope you found it useful, and I wish you the best of luck in adapting this tool for your own purposes. Thank you very much.